This is CBS Sports HQ Spotlight here on CBS Sports Network. Chris Hassel and Amanda Guerra, and I'm really excited about this program. Got a lot of good stuff coming up, including Josh Pate live and in studio.
Okay.
Talking fall weddings.
Who's like your best friend?
You know the fall wedding conversation? You're not even listening to me.
That isn't one of yes, the fall wedding conversation. Yes, weddings should not happen during the fall. Sorry for all of you who either had fall weddings or are planning fall weddings.
I had a fall wedding.
Okay, but it was like 1,000 years ago.
It was, thank you.
You got married when you were 20.
17 or 18 years ago, something like that. Looking forward to that a little bit later in the show, but we're going to start with the NFL.
Do you remember your anniversary day?
Yeah, November 10th, 2007.
Okay, there we go. Just making sure for the wife, because we absolutely love her. Yes, we are starting with the NFL. We are finishing our win totals for NFL divisions and finishing with the best of the best. We are talking about the AFC North here. This is the division, I will say, amongst our experts, that is the most contested. We have had an expert to pick every single one of these teams to win the division. Mm-hmm. Maybe the only person that has picked the Steelers has been BMAC because he is biased. We'll talk to him here in a second. The odds don't necessarily reflect it. You have the Ravens sitting at plus 145, the Bengals plus 165, so they're close. Then you jump to the Browns at plus 450, the Steelers at plus 750. Also want to mention 3 of these 4 teams, the Browns, Ravens, and the Steelers, ranked as the top 3 most difficult schedules in the NFL. So let's welcome in our guys, 2-time Super Bowl champ with the Steelers, Bryant, McFadden. We're going to get to them, BMAC. Hang on just a second. We also have John Breech here. John, we'll start with you. We're going to start with the team that won this division last year, the Ravens. They had a 13-4 record. Their win total, though, set at 10.5. Are we going over or under that?
Amanda, I am going way over. I mean, you look at what this team has done since Lamar Jackson kind of took over that starting job in 2018. They have finished in the top 3 in the NFL in rushing in each of those 6 seasons. They have finished number 1 in 3 of those 6 seasons. And now you're adding Derrick Henry to that offense. I mean, that's preposterous. That is almost unfair. They are going to steamroll opponents. So I think this offense is only going to be better than it was last year when it had the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL. You have Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, getting another year under his belt. And again, he has Derrick Henry to work with. Now, do the Ravens have some question marks on their offensive line? They sure do. They're working in 3 new starters, so we're not sure what that's going to look like. But when you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, it does give you a little margin for error. So I think the Ravens get 12, 13 wins. So I love the over here. I think that I would take that at 11.5.
John, I'm right there with you. Cool points provided by you. I'll just keep my analysis very, very simple. This is all about Lamar Jackson. I take the over, of course, but this is all about Lamar Jackson. When you look at the last 5 years, right, with the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, the times where they did not surpass at least 10 wins, it happened with Lamar Jackson being injured. 2021 and 2022, when you talk about having 8 wins in 2021 and 10 wins in 2022, Lamar Jackson was dealing with injuries, only played in 12 ball games. But when Lamar Jackson has been healthy, you look at the other 3 years, right? They've averaged around 12 wins. Win number 8 has been in the lineup. 11 wins, 14 wins, and then you look at what they did a year ago, 13 wins. So this is solely about Lamar Jackson. When Lamar Jackson is healthy, this is a team that wins at least 12 ball games, and I'm right there with you. I'm jumping at the over because they're still the best team in their division, and they have the best quarterback in their division. And when he is in the lineup, they win ball games. That's what recent history is telling all of us, and I'm following that trend all the way to the cash-in ticket.
So you guys agree when it comes to the Ravens. The next team I will say you disagree on, that is the Bengals. This is a team that lost this division last year. Granted, they did lose Joe Burrow. Speaking of healthy quarterbacks, they lost him in Week 11. He is now back. Their win total set at the same as the Ravens, 10.5. BMAC, I'll start with you because you're going under here.
Well, we got to make sure we make this known for all of our viewers. John Breech, he loves Cincinnati. So whatever he says is coming from a place of bias. That's number 1.
Unlike you with the Steelers, that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, never. I'm not. No, Amanda. You know me better than that. You know how I rock and roll. I got to keep it real. But when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals, John, with you being a faithful fan, Zach Taylor has been there coaching the Cincinnati Bengals on the sideline, I think, 5 years, right? In 5 years, he's only surpassed 10 wins once. One time. When it comes to trying to win money, I love to follow trends. That trend tells me that they're going to hit the under because in 5 years, he's only surpassed 10 wins once. Secondly, when you look at Zach Taylor as a professional coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, just in the AFC North versus AFC North teams, Zach is 10-20. He struggles against divisional opponents. And the same can be said for his star quarterback in Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is 7-11 versus AFC North teams. That's not a good stat to have in your favor when you're trying to surpass 10.5 wins. So me personally, I believe, as a man that laid out for us getting into this segment, this will be the most difficult division in football. So that's a tall task to surpass, not to mention when you already have struggled against these teams in your coaching career and your quarterback career. I think that trend will continue. That's why I'm taking the under.
You know what, B-Mac? It's not a horrible prediction. I actually was on the fence with this one when I found out a guy with the Steelers jersey in his background was going to be on with me. I had to go over. But here's the thing. Here's how I feel about the Bengals. And it kind of echoes what you said about the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. When Joe Burrow's healthy, this team is good. Any season where he has started more than 11 games, they have ended up in the AFC Championship. They have been good. So obviously, this all comes down to Joe Burrow's health. I mean, you look at the Bengals last season, they had everything go against them. Nothing went in their favor. Joe Burrow missed 7 games. He's only healthy for about half of the 10 games he did play in. And they still finished with a winning record. They still went 9-8. So I think if you have Burrow out there, the offensive line is better. The running backs are more well-rounded. The receivers are just as good as they were last year, as long as Jamar Chase actually starts suiting up for practices and games. And so there's a couple question marks on defense, maybe in the secondary, but I think this roster is better than what they had last year. You have Joe Burrow, who is going through a full training camp for the first time. So I do think they can get to 11 wins. I am really, it's going to be close, but I'm going to take the over.
Biased or not, and you admit that it was difficult for you. John taking it over for the Bengals, B-Mac going with the under when it comes to those 10.5 as a win total. Let's go to the Browns here, and this is a very curious team. There's so many question marks around this team. You have now 2-time Coach of the Year, including last season, Kevin Stefanski, the return of Deshaun Watson. They came up second in this division last year with an 11-6 record, arguably, and Jets fans will go back with this, one of the top 2 defenses in the NFL. But their win total right now set at 8.5. John, which way are you going for the Browns?
I think the Browns are the hardest team in this division to predict. If they finished 13-4, I wouldn't be surprised. But if they went 7-10, I wouldn't be shocked. There are just so many question marks, and most of those revolve around Deshaun Watson. He just hasn't been the Deshaun Watson he was earlier in his career. We haven't really seen him take off in Cleveland yet. Maybe this is the year that it happens, but I just haven't seen enough from him that proves to me that it is going to happen. Then you look at all the guys that are coming back from injury, Nick Chubb, Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, just a bunch of key guys. You don't know what they're going to look like when week 1 rolls around. So I would take the under, but 8.5 is just so low. I think every AFC North team finishes with a winning record, so I'm going to go over.
Yeah, that's the right move. Take the over. 8.5 is extremely low for a very, very talented team on either side of the football field. I echo your concerns, John, when you talk about Deshaun Watson. But the Cleveland Browns, they're the one team in the National Football League where they don't really rely on their quarterback as much. Heck, if you look at their success a year ago, that proves my point. This is a team that is overly balanced where they don't need outstanding play from the quarterback. So I'm taking the over. And one of the big reasons why I'm taking the over is because of their schedule. Look at their first 5 ball games. They got Jacksonville, Dallas at home, travel to Jacksonville. You got the Giants, you got the Raiders, you got the Commanders. When you look at the first five ball games, I easily see 4-1. 4-1. And if you look at the rest of the schedule, winnable ball games where they will be the clear-cut favorites going into those ball games as we see it right now. Against the Chargers, against the Saints, against the Broncos. And then within divisional play, they're going to split ball games against maybe Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh based on the history of these divisional teams. So when you factor in the easy start for the first 5 weeks of the season for the Cleveland Browns and then having winnable ball games throughout the schedule against the Chargers, the Saints, and the Denver Broncos, all you need to do is get to 9 before you get into divisional play. So I think this is a very, very talented roster. This roster is too good, regardless who is playing quarterback for them, to not get 9 wins. So I'm taking the over.
First 5 games, very nice for the Browns. I will say, though, after that, starting week 6, they are ranked, according to CBS Sports, as the toughest schedule in the NFL. Steelers coming in with the 3rd toughest schedule, according to CBS Sports. Let's make this easy. Big questions around the quarterback position here, B-Mac. They made it to 10 wins last season because you got Mike Tomlin. We don't know what's going to happen. Win total set at 8.5. What is your prediction? And then also, like, are they winning this division, B-Mac? Are we still going that way?
Okay, the second question is harder to answer than the first. The first, for me, my prediction, over. That's the only option. For the other teams, you have 2 legit options. Either you take the over or the under, right? For Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, it's always over. It's no other option. And here's why. It's super simple, Amanda, John. Mike Tomlin has been coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers for 17 years. For 17 years. There's only been 3 years where he did not win at least 9 games. 3 years in his 17-year career there in Pittsburgh where the Pittsburgh Steelers did not win at least 9 games. Is there a stronger trend in football when it comes to what Mike Tomlin does reaching 9 wins? No, that is one of the strongest trends in the National Football League. So I can talk about the roster, I can talk about the quarterbacks, the potential, the defense. I can do all of that. I'm just going to solely talk about what I've seen in 17 years with Mike Tomlin. Only 3 years where he didn't get 9 wins? No question. The only option is over. Your second question, will they win the division? Right now, as I see it today, Amanda, I'll be real. I'll say no. Okay. But that doesn't mean they can't get into the playoffs. They didn't win the division last year. Guess what? They got into the tournament. So they still will get into the playoffs. They don't just need to win the division. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
BMAC won't send me a birthday card if I take the under here, so I'm not taking the under. But I do think the over hits. I actually agree with BMAC. I think he made a bunch of good points there. And the Mike Tomlin point is the key one. This guy has never finished under 500 in 17 years in Pittsburgh. I thought for sure this streak would end last year with Kenny Pickett at quarterback. It didn't. Mike Tomlin just wills this team to wins. Not only did they finish with a winning record, but they went to the playoffs, as BMAC said. So then you look at what they did this offseason. They upgraded the offensive coordinator. Arthur Smith is a great hire. They're going to upgrade at quarterback. I don't care if it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. I think both of those guys are at least a small upgrade over what they had in Kenny Pickett. We already know their defense is a force that just runs through opposing offenses. So I would be shocked if the Steelers don't win 9 games. So I think the over does feel like an easy bet here.
John, I'd be a little upset at BMAC because I feel like he took the under with the Bengals out of spite. And you still took the over with the Steelers. Anyway, we're short on time here, guys. Who gets into the postseason out of these 4 teams? BMAC, we'll start with you.
Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I don't have Cincinnati making the playoffs. I'm sorry, John.
It's mathematically possible for all 4 of them to make it, BMAC, but I'll say everyone but the Browns.
Everyone but the Browns. Very interesting there. Okay, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Can't wait for the season to get started. We'll see how it all unfolds. Bryant, McFadden, John Breech there. Week 1, AFC North matchups. Ravens at Chiefs. All eyes will be on that. That game is kicking off the season. Chiefs at home favored 5-3.